Please note, for maximum picture quality, it may be necessary to adjust the tracking control on your VCR.
Welcome to Adjust Your Tracking, a podcast where we're clearing out our movie backlogs by going year by year, decade by decade for a century of cinema. I'm Liam.
And I'm Ollie.
He is. And we're here to guide you through our kind of dusty shelves of backlogs, and I'm going to stop clicking that pen because Ollie's going to tell me off.
Do you want to do it again?
No, I'm fine. That's staying in. How you doing, man?
I'm good, thanks. It seems like only yesterday we were chatting about Wild at Heart.
It does, but we both know that was actually about, I think, 3 months ago, I think. That's how long it's been in normal time.
So how's quarantine going for you?
Quarantine is horrible. It's been, the news is so depressing right now.
I know.
It's so hard to kind of just, I don't know, concentrate on other stuff that's not just, but stay safe, everybody. Stay inside.
So Prince Charles has got it.
Yes.
Johnson has got it now.
Yes, which I'm not wishing any bad on anyone. Just might be karma for him saying that he's going to shake hands with people continuously a few weeks ago.
Good. Well done, Boris. Well done.
I thought of something, because as we're all isolating at the moment, the best thing to do when you're isolating is to kind of watch films, I think, anyway. That might not be the same for everyone. So I've come up with my top 10 pandemic films.
I've got a few that I've been thinking of, actually.
Awesome, okay. Shall we go through mine and you can see if they match yours? Or...
Go on, then.
Okay, so what I've tried to do is not have zombie films there.
Agreed.
Because they're, even though they are mainly pandemic films, they're not strictly pandemic films. But kind of an honourable shout out at number 10 to two films that are kind of zombie films, but they're kind of not zombie films, which is 28 Days Later and Wreck. You know, the Spanish film?
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, isn't Quarantine like the remake?
Yeah, I think there was a remake of it, but I never saw it.
They're very similar, aren't they? Because it's almost like a rage kind of...
Yeah, like a rage virus that kind of takes over.
Makes you angry.
I've not seen 28 Days Later in a long time, but I watched Wreck recently, and that's really good.
Do you know what? I really like 28 Weeks Later, actually.
Who was in that? I never saw that one.
Did you not see that? It's Robert Carlyle. I really enjoyed that one. I noticed in the last podcast, every time I say about a film, I just say, "Oh, I love that film. I love that film.
That's
I really like that film." And
then
then every time you talk, I just go, "Okay." And I'm editing it. I'm like thinking, what the fuck am I? Can I not say anything else more interesting than okay?
Last time I recorded, I was in a right slump, but I'm feeling happier today, so we'll get over that. Number 9 is a film that I don't even remember that well.
Yeah.
So that's why it's number 9 on my list. Cabin Fever.
Oh yeah.
It's a good pandemic film. I haven't seen Cabin Fever since like it came out 2002. Probably I saw it in. So it might not hold up at all, but I seem to remember it was a good kind of infection film.
Well, it got 2 sequels and a remake.
Did it?
Yeah, the remake came out like, what, 2 years ago, I think?
I don't think that film exists. I think they just deleted that as soon as it got released.
So I think the second film has Ryder Strong in it, who was one of the main people in the first film.
Yeah, he was the main guy, yeah.
And then I think the third film is unconnected to the first one. Maybe I haven't seen it, to be honest. And then the remake is just a straight up remake of the first film, I think.
Did Eli Roth do the remake?
No, he may have produced it, but he did, what is it, Green Inferno, and he did the other film with Keanu Reeves where I think 2 girls like try and kill him or capture him or something.
I have no memory of that whatsoever.
Go on, what's number 8?
Number 8 is Barry Levinson, The Bay.
Oh yeah, I have actually seen The Bay. Is that like a found footage one?
Yeah, it's one of the few found footage films that I think actually work. But you could argue it's not a kind of pandemic film, but it does involve like the Centre for Disease Control and stuff like that. So I thought it counted.
Yeah.
Number 7 is Outbreak. Classic Outbreak.
Is that the same? Is it the same monkey from Friends?
I think it is. It doesn't mean that it definitely is.
Do you know? Fun fact. The monkey from Friends is playing ampersand in the Why the Last Man TV series.
See that you say that's true, but I don't think they'll ever make that TV show. So,
But I didn't know how long monkeys live for, but you know, because Friends is like nearing 30 years old now.
you sure it's the same monkey? I don't know if I believe you.
I read this on the internet and it must be true.
I read it and didn't check it up, so it must be true.
I read it on superherohype.com.
I wonder if the monkey's got an IMDb page I can check out.
It might do.
I mean, he's got better credits than most people. Is that the same monkey that's in Ace Ventura?
Oh, I don't. Spike could be. Don't know. But I tell you what, I've worked with a few animal trainers while making films and stuff, and
I've worked with a few monkeys.
They are the oddest people. Yeah, they're just bonkers. Have you watched Tiger King yet?
I have watched. I was about to ask you the same thing actually.
Yeah, I finished it yesterday. I mean, I'd already seen the Louis Theroux show several years ago, so I already knew who Joe Exotic was.
I actually listened to the podcast they based that series on, so I did know it going in. I think it was called Something Next Door. I can't remember, but it's that guy is such an asshole.
Who, Joe Exotic?
Yeah, everyone in that TV show is an asshole.
No one comes off in a good light in that, even the woman.
No.
But like, he is entertaining to watch, though.
Yeah, I guess you could say he's got a certain kind of.
I mean,
charisma.
Spoilers.
But he's off-putting though. I just find him off-putting generally.
Yeah, I mean, spoilers. He groomed two young boys for a start, and then secondly, he played like this is a big spoiler, but he sang and played the guitar or whatever is his husband's funeral and made it all about himself.
Oh, that was the worst thing.
So cringe. Apparently, it's come out that he didn't sing those songs.
He doesn't sound like him. Right, IMDb, Katie the monkey.
Yeah.
Which is a female monkey, which I didn't know. It was apparently just in Friends.
Oh, okay.
And in The Loop, in 30 Rock, and in Sam and Cat. So, I don't know.
Okay. All right, number 7.
Number 7 is Blindness. Blindness. Have you seen that?
Is that one, with the Incredible Hulk guy? What's his name? And Julianne Moore?
Yeah, it's got Julianne Moore in it. Mark Ruffalo, is that what you mean by Incredible Hulk guy?
Yeah. Isn't Mark Ruffalo in it?
Yes, yeah. But I didn't know who you meant by Incredible Hulk guy. You could have meant anyone. I thought you meant Lou Ferrigno, though, yeah.
That'd be called Deafness. Oh, I'm sorry. I'll cut that out.
Ooh.
I'm allowed to. I'm one of them. I'm a brethren.
I'm one of them. You're cutting that out. Anyway, Blindness. It's really good. It's based on a Portuguese book. It's about a society suffering an endemic of blindness.
Yeah, and they lock them all away, don't they?
Yeah. Great.
In a facility or something like that, don't
they? What number was on that one?
6 is next, I think.
No, I think it's 5.
Is it 5? I can't count.
Is the Andromeda Strain. The Andromeda
Strain. I've never seen that.
All I can say about it is it's a film. It's fine. It's just a classic kind of, if you're going to have a virus pandemic film, I felt like I had to put it in. It's a Michael Crichton book. They're all the same. Like, really. But it's worth watching. What did I have? 4, I put Contagion. I don't really like Contagion, but I still put it at 4.
It's a bit vanilla, I thought. I don't know.
I thought it was as well. People really loved it, but I wasn't that into it. And it's kind of before Jude Law became kind of great Jude Law, in my opinion. It was kind of his in transition of Jude Lawness. Number 3, Children of Men.
Yeah, that's on my list.
I loved it. I'm not a massive fan of the director, if I'm honest. Kurosawa.
Really?
Yeah, I don't really like him that much. But I did really like Children of Men.
My favourite scene in that is when Michael Caine's sitting down to relax and he puts on, like, because it's obviously set in the future, so he would have been our age, like, back in the 2000s or whatever. And he listens to, like, it's either the Chemical Brothers or the Prodigies just to chill out to.
Like classical music.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of those films, it's, for ages, not many people had seen it. And I think it still holds up, actually. Number 2, It Comes at Night.
Yeah.
Which I know isn't massively about the kind of epidemic, but it is set in a world after it. And I just loved It Comes at Night. That was one of my favourite films that year. Well, favourite horror films at least. With good old Joel Edgerton. And it's kind of it's right in that period of this revolution of kind of horror films at the moment coming out. So
yeah, I need to see this one. I haven't actually seen this one, so that's going to go on my list to watch.
Number one, my favourite pandemic film, 12 Monkeys.
That's on my list, 100%.
Love that film.
Also, you've got science fiction in there, time travel, so it's...
You got Bruce Willis doing great stuff.
Yeah, on form Bruce Willis. I care about making films.
Yeah, absolutely on form. And Brad Pitt as well. He's just amazing in that film.
Have you seen the making of it's 12 Monkeys and the Hamster Factor or something like that?
Yeah.
But like, I imagine Terry Gilliam being the most irritating person to work for ever.
Yep.
I mean, have you read some of his recent like comments and stuff?
Yeah, I was hoping not to think about that, but he's kind of showing himself to be an old man, frankly.
Yeah. So, well, some old men can grow old gracefully.
Yeah. Okay, apparently an old rich man. I don't know, but yeah, I don't like. Yeah, but
I mean, I've made no effort to see his previous film, the one with your man from Inglourious Bastards. It's kind of like in the vein of Brazil and 12 Monkeys.
You don't mean The Man Who Killed Don Quixote, do you?
No, not that film. I haven't seen that one.
But his last one, you don't mean that. Oh, I think I know what you mean. Is it called Tideland? Or am I making that up?
No, I've seen that one. That was quite good. It is called Zero Theorem.
Yeah, I have.
Yeah, so it's still about 8 years old or something at this point.
Yeah, it is 2013.
Christoph Waltz, that's who's in it.
Oh, Christoph Waltz from Big Eyes. Everyone loves Big Eyes.
I still haven't seen it yet. I've got it. I haven't watched it.
It's so weird.
Yeah, I'll tell you, one of mine, definitely pandemic film. I don't know if you call it pandemic, but it's definitely after something, but The Road.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Post-apocalyptic. I don't know if it was pandemic or not, but yeah.
Yeah, I can't remember it's been a long time since I've watched it, so I can't remember the cause, but there's hardly any people around, and half of the people around seem to be cannibals, so...
Yeah. So at the moment, it's like England, I would say.
I mean, what happened in Mad Max? What happened to the Earth on Mad Max? I can't remember.
I thought it was post-apocalyptic.
Is it just post-apocalyptic?
I think. I'm watching Mad Max today, actually. I've got that penciled in. So I'll text
The first one?
Yeah, the first one.
The first one I think's a bit of I don't want to say a tough watch, but it's
very cheap.
The second and the fourth ones are the best.
Yeah, the second.
Fury Road is interesting and
I
bonkers.
love Fury Road.
Not Fury Road. Thunderdome.
Thunderdome. Yeah, I used to watch second and third one a lot as a kid. A lot.
Do you remember the Castlemaine X adverts? I think it was Castlemaine X or Foster's, one of the Australian beers, and
I think it's Castlemaine.
Yeah, and they like spoofed Mad Max.
Yes, I do actually. God, that was a long time ago. I'm turning away. What was I going to say? Oh, Jesus, my mind's gone blank. Oh, I was going to say about 12 Monkeys. I used to skip school a lot.
Did you?
I hated being in school, so I used to go and do other stuff. And I really remember skipping school to go watch 12 Monkeys. That was one thing I did.
At the cinema?
No, I watched it at home.
Oh, I was going to say.
So I went home and took my dad's VHS from my dad's collection and just sat at home and watched 12 Monkeys instead of going to school.
I remember we hired it out for our friend Scott Paterson's like sleepover birthday. We must have been about 12, and we were all pissed off because there weren't 12 monkeys in it. You know, we were that young that we didn't really understand what was going on.
You were like, "Where's the monkeys coming up? Where's Clint Eastwood?"
So you just been watching movies then to pass your time?
Yeah, working, writing, watching movies. I watched Harley Quinn last night.
Any good?
I enjoyed it actually. Yeah. I did enjoy it. I really like Huntress in it. I thought I really, really liked Huntress and Black Canary actually.
I really like Mary Elizabeth Winstead.
Yeah,
and I really enjoyed her in Fargo series 3.
Yes.
which
Yeah, she
again
was in that.
starred Ewan McGregor as well.
Ewan McGregor was so good in it as well. He was having a lot of fun, which is good to see, really.
I heard he doesn't wear his mask quite often, and the only time he did was for a reshoot, apparently.
Was it a reshoot? He does put it on, though, so that's good.
And Zaz is in it as well, isn't he?
Yeah, Zaz is basically Black Mask's boyfriend, really.
Oh, really?
They don't kind of explicitly say they're a couple, but both of them are performing as they're a couple, really. So I'm not sure if it's in the script or not, or if it was something they kind of came up with on set.
I've also heard that about in Jurassic Park: The Lost World, that Peter Postlethwaite and his right-hand man, I think in the book or something, they were meant to be a gay couple, but it's never really mentioned at all in the film.
Yeah, they don't mention it at all. Yeah, that is totally true.
It's a shame they just don't own it and just say...
Yeah, it doesn't have to be fucking explicit.
Yeah, just the character and that's it.
Yeah, just accept it as part of the world. Speaking of that, the onwards thing it's so fucking annoying.
The Disney onwards?
Yeah, there's the first lesbian, first gay character in Disney. And it's just a cop who, I could not tell you the name of the character, who just offhandedly goes, my wife moans about raising kids all the time or something like that. I can't remember the exact line. But one hand, it's the kind of, I'm really glad they're putting just casual kind of world building of gay characters in it, which is what they should be doing. But the other hand, it really feels like something that was put in so China could easily cut it out and just have the rest of the film going on.
Well, that feels the same with Star Wars. It happens at the end of Rise of Skywalker, doesn't it? I think there's like a lesbian kiss at the end.
Yeah. I remember watching that at the cinema with you, and I thought I was waiting for the gay kiss at the end of Star Wars, and when the Hobbit guy kissed the slug, I thought it was that.
So it was like interspecies.
I was like, well, like, and then the actual gay kiss gets less screen time than the slug kiss.
I know.
And it's hidden in the background.
I wonder if they'll go the route of if Margot Robbie carries on as Harley Quinn, if they'll kind of go the Poison Ivy.
They have to, and I hope they don't just do gal pals bullshit. Like,
yeah.
But I think in the intro I might be wrong on this, so I might have to check. But I think on the intro of Harley Quinn, they showed an animated intro about the character of Harley Quinn, and it shows relationships she's been in, and one of the characters was female. So they do show that she's been in a gay relationship. I think that's true. That might not be right. My favourite thing about that animated intro, by the way, is the Joker in it is totally dressed up like the animated series Joker and not fucking Jared Leto Joker at all. They are erasing that as hard as they can.
Well, I'm surprised they kept the tattoos on her, to be honest, for this film. I thought they should have just got rid of them, because I honestly don't think anybody would have cared.
No, at the end of the film when she's driving, you see that tattoo on her face that says something.
Rotten, isn't it, or something?
Is it rotten? Yeah, and it was so distracting. I was sitting there going, that doesn't need to be there.
It's so overly designed and hot topicy, and it's just...
She's having a lot of fun, and she is really good in it, and I would like to see more, and I'd love to see her and Poison Ivy as a couple.
Well, she was one of the highlights in Suicide Squad.
Which is a incredibly low bar.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you who else I liked in Suicide Squad.
Courtney Jack.
I thought he was actually...
Jai Courtney, I said his name the wrong way around.
He's one of those Channing Tatum names, like Tatum Channing. Doesn't really matter. But he was actually good as Boomerang.
Yeah. I wasn't meant to say him. I was meant to make a joke about Slipknot.
Oh, that guy.
I couldn't remember who played him.
Corey Taylor.
That's it, Corey Taylor.
Well, it's not. He's the singer from Slipknot.
Bollocks. Cut that out.
No, that's staying.
We're going to talk 1991. Yeah, that's right. And what's your opinion of film in 1991, Ollie?
Was that the year of Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves?
Was it?
I think so. I think that or Terminator were like the highest grossing films of that year.
It was Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, because this is my favourite period of Kevin Costner, where he just dominates Hollywood in this time period, leading up to the biggest fucking film of all time, which he gets to do twice, frankly, because he does he does last year was Prince of... Oh my God. Last year was Dances with Wolves.
Yeah.
And he wins the Oscar for that, I think. And then because of that, he then in 1991 does JFK and Robin Hood. And those make him the biggest actor in Hollywood by far.
At that time, yeah.
At that time. And to a point where I don't think there's anyone acting right now as big as Kevin was back then.
Do you think?
He was huge. I just don't think celebrity culture is the same as it was when there was just limited kind of engagement and limited shows and limited like papers and stuff.
I guess so. I mean, you probably get actors like, say, Robert Downey Jr., who are successful, but he's mainly successful just for one. So I don't know whether he can command as much money for other projects as he does for, say, just...
All right. Doolittle's a very kind of Waterworld-ish type film. So that is quite relatable.
I forgot that even came out. Honestly, that seemed to just came and went, I think.
Hey man, if no more films get released this year, then
it could be the highest grossing
currently. I think it's the third, but yeah, it's still up there.
But there's a load of good films actually in this year. You got Addams Family, which I like, Barton Fink, Rocketeer.
I love Addams Family. God, I love Addams Family.
Point Break, Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey.
Yeah. Did you say Cape Fear?
Oh no, I didn't say Cape Fear, but Cape Fear.
King Ralph.
Hot Shots. Curly Sue.
What About Bob?
I like What About Bob.
There's a film called Switch, which I don't know if I want to go into, but that came out in 1991.
Oh, Silence of the Lambs, we forgot that.
I fucking love Silence. I was going to go into Silence of the Lambs, how great that film is. Like,
did you say City Slickers?
I didn't say City Slickers, but I was going to rant about City Slickers. That was on my little notes down here. We'll get to that later. It will come back. It will come. We'll pigeon that here. Put it on the notice board here, and get back to City Slickers. Terminator 2, Fisher King.
Yeah. Don't
tell Mom the babysit's dead.
Hook. Don't forget Hook.
Hook. Personal favourite of mine, My Own Private Idaho.
That was a great film. I remember
film.
when I was a kid, I really wanted to see it, and I'm talking like when I was about 6 or 7 because I love Bill and Ted. And my sister was like, "I don't think you're quite ready to watch that film just yet." I'll tell you which film I like. I like Naked Lunch. That is a bizarre film.
I really do like my Cronenberg.
Yeah. Oh, you had Jungle Fever as well, the Spike Lee film.
Oh yeah, because Jungle Fever actually leads into what we're talking about today. So Spike Lee started to have these successes that kind of was really popular in like 1989 with Do the Right Thing, and I think the success of that led to being able to produce this film, Boyz n the Hood.
In South Central LA,
Yo, Benita, let's do the local thing.
It's tough to beat the streets.
What am I supposed to do? Fool roll up, try to smoke me? I'm gonna shoot the motherfucker.
You have to think, young brother, about your future.
Man, why you sweating me?
You're my only son, and I'm not gonna lose you to no bull.
Hey, don't worry about it. I can take care of myself.
Trey wanted to work his way up.
Trey is a grown man now. He is not a little boy anymore.
Heard you like Mr. GQ Smooth now.
Maybe some of what you gotta rub off on him.
Ricky was looking for a better life.
I want to do something with my life, all right? I want to be somebody.
When you were a little boy, you used to run around here all the time with that football in your hand. I always knew you would amount to something.
Boyz n the Hood, 1991, directed by John Singleton.
Yeah, R.I.P. Very sad.
Very sad. He only died. Was it last year?
Yeah, he was young as well, like 52. He was like 22 when he made this film.
I know.
So he was straight out of film college or university or whatever.
Was it UCL he went to? I think he went to. Yeah. Not UCL. It's fucking in London. Whatever the California film thing is.
But I mean, not only was he young, he was a black man who got to make a Hollywood feature film. Did you not unscrew your beer? Wrong beer. Liam, for the audience, Liam went to take a swig out of his beer that he had not opened.
John Singleton. Yeah, he was the youngest person ever nominated for Best Director at the time.
I think rightfully so, actually. Not to bury the lead, but I really like this film.
It's
really
amazing.
Liked it.
It's absolutely amazing. Yeah, he was 24 when he made it. He didn't win, but probably could have. And he was the first African American to be nominated for Best Director as well.
I mean, I have some issues with the film, but they're not like deal breakers that ruin the film. They're just oddities, which we'll get into. But a lot of my friends who I've spoken to, like I've said, I just watched Boys in the Hood today. And they're like, I love that film, but it's quite cheesy now. And I guess it could be considered cheesy, like looking back, like if you see the films that follow, like Menace to Society and stuff like that, a bit more hardcore, that this might seem a bit tame in comparison, maybe. Sure. But for me, it really worked.
No, it worked in every way for me. And I think the cheesiness I was getting from watching it was the fact that it felt a little bit TV-ish.
I think that's like with talking about Wild at Heart, it's the music. They've got that kind of, like, now you'd expect a film about a group of black males to have hip hop and stuff like that, whereas it's kind of got jazzy sax music.
Ooh, child.
Yeah.
My favourite scene of the film. I think as well it wasn't shot for a lot of money.
Yeah, it was like $6 million, I think, maybe.
Which
it was the most profitable film that year.
I can imagine.
Like, it didn't make the most, but I think in terms of budget to how much it grossed, I think it was the most profitable film.
If I'm right as well, I am right. Damn it, I am right. Not question myself. I think the person at Columbia who found the script, I can't remember her name, but I think
Jackie Brown.
Was it Jackie Brown?
I think so.
We'll go with that. I know it was an African American lady who found the script and decided they were going to produce it.
There's someone involved called Jackie Brown.
But they offered John Singleton $100,000 to not direct the film, just to buy the script off him, and he was insistent. He just refused that and said, "No, I'm making this." Which, at 24 years old, to refuse $100,000 just to get your film produced, so your script gets produced, that takes incredible balls to decide not to take that.
Also, I think it was an important film for him because I think it's obviously autobiographical to a certain extent.
Yeah.
So, like, at the beginning, so it starts off with, what's his name? Trey, is it Trey? The main character?
Played by Cuba. Yeah.
Yeah. So what do you think of, like, the young actors at the beginning?
Really, really natural.
Yeah, I thought they were good.
Really realistic and really just kind of into it.
Although, you know when he goes up in front of the class and he starts, like, he gets kind of quite confrontational with his other friend.
Yeah.
And they say he's got a bit of an anger problem.
Yeah, which is that classic thing against kind of black males and stuff like that. Like,
yeah, it doesn't really... I mean, that didn't come through, I think, later on in the film. But I guess that's because of the influence his father has on him.
Yeah, totally.
But that teacher was an asshole when she phones at the mom.
Oh my fucking God. Yeah,
are you educated?
Like,
and you're like,
yeah,
what?
Is there a father around and shit? Oh my God. That shit like that in this film. Even the stuff in that scene where he stands up, like I think if a kid was white and you just shouted a lot out in class, it was just, oh, he's, too enthusiastic. But because he's black, he's like got an anger issue and how dare you, and do you want to go do this? And then it starts that weird argument as well about, he was explaining that everyone in the world's from Africa, and the kids at the front saying, I'm not from Africa. Like, and it even comes into that social problem not social problem, but social issue about how you see your lineage. And that's like the first scene, really.
But this goes into like how he's basically writing his life. If he's that kind of person to not take $100,000 to direct the film, he's that kid who will go up in front.
Yeah, he's going to take chances. Yeah.
The first thing they do is they go and see where someone got shot.
Yeah, which 2 points on that. One, do you think the dead body was the guy that Laurence Fishburne shot at the door?
Oh, you're talking about that dead body. I'm thinking about earlier on where they see just gunshots and stuff when they cross the police line. But this is before he moves to his dad.
Yeah. That's right at the beginning, isn't it?
But I never thought about that,
Because I think the shoe is outside Laurence Fishburne's house, and I think the body doesn't have a shoe on it.
I need to rewatch that. That's a good point. I assumed it was those lads. But yeah, it could be the guy that Laurence Fishburne shot. Actually, he's not Laurence Fishburne in this. He's Larry.
He's Larry, yeah. Larry Fish.
I wonder at what point he decided, I'm no longer Larry, I'm a Laurence.
Probably around this time, because, I mean, if I'm very honest, Laurence Fishburne didn't fall onto my radar until Matrix, really. I think.
Well, yeah, I mean, he'd been in Apocalypse Now and stuff like that. We were too young to have seen those films at that point. But if there's one issue I have about this film, and don't get me wrong, I think Laurence Fishburne is really good in this film. He's like 5 years older than Cuba Gooding Jr.
Well, he's only meant to be 17 years older than him, isn't he?
Yeah, so when he's with the younger son, I think that's fine. But as soon as it's Cuba Gooding Jr., who again does not look 17, he looks 25.
Yeah, well, yeah.
There does not look like there's an age gap between them at all. Like, the only thing they change on Laurence Fishburne is, I think,
a bit of grey in his beard.
He wears glasses when he's older, and instead of wearing like cool kind of night clothes or whatever, he wears a Cosby sweater.
But he's only meant to be, what, 32?
I know he's supposed to be younger, but that's why the age gap thing looks weird. But
I guess it took me a while to realise Cuba was meant to only be kind of 17.
Have you seen Don't Be a Menace in South Central while drinking the juice in the hood?
I've seen it while stoned.
So the main lad in that, his name is Ashtray.
Oh, okay.
And his dad keeps getting younger.
That's a good joke.
It is a good joke. I love that film. It's funny. I've got to stop saying that. I love that film.
I love that film. That's your catchphrase, dude. But like, oh god, I could talk about the opening scene forever. I love how, as you say, the first scene is they see the violence in their neighborhood, the gunshots, the police, and stuff like that, and just this general sense of kind of anger and the violence that these kids are growing up in. Immediately, you cut into the origin myth of America with this white teacher telling you about this bullshit story about this is why America exists because the natives fed us food and the pilgrims were very nice and now we have America kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it's that immediate cut to the bullshit that America sells you when you're living in it, like the bullshit of how the American dream and how everything's going to be perfect and stuff. And I thought it was straight away I was like, I'm on board with this fucking film. Like,
so when you go back to, you were talking about the guy that Larry shot. So the police come round.
Yeah, it takes them hours.
But they subvert it, and the white cop is the kind of normal, subdued guy, and the black cop is really intense. And I don't understand what they're trying to get at with that. I mean, I don't.
I listened to another podcast called Black Men Can't Jump in Hollywood, and they look at African Americans in Hollywood and see what like African American films are and stuff like that. And they do a lot of stuff on Will Smith and stuff like that. And their episode on Boyz n the Hood is wonderful, and they say that even today, the idea of a black cop is scarier than the white cop. So the white cop will give you anger, but it's the black cop is like you're letting him down in by him having to be there, him having to go to the hood, him having to kind of turn up. He's like more angry and be more kind of officious about it, which I thought was a fascinating, really, as a take. But when I was watching it, what I thought was that it kind of just showed the institutionalized racism that's in the society anyway. Like, like no matter your colour of skin, once you get in this kind of police corps and once you get into kind of law enforcement, you're just surrounded by this institutionalized kind of mess you're no longer seeing people as people, but you're seeing them as the issues of the hood and stuff like that. And it's made the black cop even worse. Like, he's not your friend just because he's black. He's a policeman and he's not your friend. He's not going to help you. Like,
but like jumping ahead, that's a really intense scene later on when he shoves the gun in Cuba Gooding Jr.
Yeah, and he hadn't done anything wrong.
Yeah, and it's just insane. I think this film is more ballsy than people realise.
Yeah,
or give it credit for now, maybe.
Especially for 1991.
Because if you think about it, films weren't made for this audience back then. Like, you had Eddie Murphy movies in the 80s, and then before that you had the blaxploitation films where they were running around with afros and guns and kind of like they were spies or kind of undercover agents and stuff like that. This is the first time that they feel like they're being represented on screen in a real light. And it's, you know, like how Clerks would be for us, like just two white slackers working in a convenience store. This is how their real life is. Do you know what I mean?
And I thought that was what I think I think it's something I feel like I want to address now, is the fact that there's a reason why I never watched this film. I mean, the whole podcast is about films we haven't watched, but I think for large way I never watched this film because I thought it wasn't for me. I just had it in this, I would say, probably racist mindset that this film was a film for black people, for maybe people who grew up in kind of that situation in America, and it wasn't for me. It wasn't for like a white geeky kid who grew up in fucking Birmingham, and that has stopped me enjoying something which I think was fantastic and I wish I'd seen years ago. And it's such a bullshit idea that this film gets put as a black film when it's not. It's a social film, it's a crime film, it's a gangster film, it's no different to any of those films. And the idea that I don't watch this because it's not for me is like saying that like the Irishman would speak to me better because I'm Irish or something, like, which is rubbish. Like, it's
but this happens all around us. I mean, you only have to go to Birmingham, in Erdington, in Aston. These things happen, like in poor areas. Do you know what I mean? Between white people and black people.
Yeah, there's poor areas everywhere.
I got mugged in Aston at knife point, and yeah, the guy was an asshole for doing it. But at the same time, I don't know what he's been through to.
No.
You know, he probably has been through some shit that he felt the need he had to do.
Well, that's Ice Cube. And Ice Cube so good in this film. His last line of the film is just wonderful when he's like, either they don't care or they don't know what's going on. That's the only explanation why things don't get sorted. And it's the same everywhere. Poverty begets kind of violence, begets anger, begets the dark side. Begets like this kind of cycle of hatred.
Yeah.
And this cycle of just kind of stuff, and nothing gets fixed in that because no external forces are trying to help. And no matter how good they were trying to be, they still get trapped in this cycle of violence, which is the same as any mob film that's ever existed, any kind of crime film that's ever existed. This does that story just wonderfully. I just want to say about kind of the idea of black and white films as well, is the fact that I think I got this. This is a take from the wonderful podcast Black Men Can't Jump in Hollywood. But he was saying that he thinks a lot of white people probably don't like to watch this because they say that they're not represented on screen. And he made the point that he has a feeling that most white people won't watch films like this not because they're not represented on screen, but actually because they know where they're represented on screen and they don't like to admit to it. They know in this film they're the kind of society behind the picture. They're the people who are not helping or not caring, and they know the film's telling you that. Like in the same way that to white America, to white Hollywood, films about slavery are so much more kind of consumable because you can blame that racism on the past. You can say that was my ancestors 100 years ago, 200 years. That's nothing to do with me. But this film sticks it right in your face and says those issues are still happening now, and you have to care about it now.
I mean, this film's 30 years old, but it's still happening.
I was going to say exact same thing. I couldn't believe how much I was watching it and how much it sang to exactly right now.
It does not feel like it's aged. It feels like this could have come out yesterday.
Absolutely, I mean, there's no difference, which is so sad that we've made no difference since then.
Yeah,
I just thought it's wonderful. What a wonderful film.
The one thing that confused me was, so Doughboy. Oh, first of all, Doughboy was my nickname when I was younger by Robert Kenyon's family. So I don't know why. I wasn't a fat kid or anything, but they used to call me Doughboy. So whenever I used to phone up, they'd be like, Doughboy's on the phone. So anyway.
Did you look a little bit like Ice Cube?
I was a dead ringer for him. I was rapping all over the place.
I love Ice Cube in this film.
You don't... So you have one scene where Doughboy, Trey, and the other kids are hanging out. Then it cuts to them fishing with his dad. And then it comes back on his way back from the fishing trip, and he's being arrested.
Yeah.
But you don't see anything. You don't see what happens, or
they're carting away like what they're meant to be 10-year-old kids or something in fucking handcuffs. But they say they robbed a store, don't they, on their way back?
Is that what they've done?
Yeah. I think they said like we stole something or something like that. They say like. And
do they get 7 years for that?
I don't think they get put away. I think it's just juvenile. They get put on.
Oh, because I assumed that party they had was them coming out of prison. That's what I thought.
I didn't think about that. I just thought it was just meant to be a party, if I'm honest. I was going to say the childhood thing before we get off it. the whole of this film is like a black Stand By Me. Did you get that?
Oh, 100%. The bit where they're walking on the railroad tracks and they're looking. Do you want to see a dead
body? They go and find a body.
And even the end where it says Trey grew up to
the little
do well at college, and then sadly Doughboy passes away like 2 weeks later. Do you know what I mean?
I think it was 2 days later. I think he was shot. I think it's
exactly.
It was such a smart thing for John Singleton to do, is kind of echo that kind of like that Stand By Me in this film. I think that worked so well.
Oh, 100%. It's just a more brutal version of it. I don't it's
not comfortable white America, is it? Like, I was going to say as well, because you talked about the barbecue scene, and I really liked that barbecue scene. I think they call it a cookout, but like barbecue. And
I feel like we should be drinking 40 ounces right now, but
40s. Is that what they? I was going to ask you, is that what they were holding?
That's what they drink.
Yeah. Is that a 40? I think what's been going through society at the moment is people like white women calling the police on black people just hanging out, just like having a barbecue in the park and just like shopping and stuff like that. And I just thought, watching them having the barbecue, like, I don't think you ever see just kind of in film just black people hanging out like that in a way that's just they're just having a barbecue, and the women are there, the boys are there, they're trying to flirt, they're trying to get on, they're like taking the piss out of each other. And I think scenes like that I don't see a lot in film. Maybe I'm really ignorant, I don't know, but I just really liked the whole bit of the film.
So do you know which character Dookie is? So he's the one who's got the pacifier in his mouth all the time.
Okay, is that Dookie? Because the other one was the one in the wheelchair is Chris, isn't it?
Yeah, and he's parodied in Don't Be a Menace to Society's Crazy Legs, I think. But Dookie, he's the one with the pacifier. And the reason why he wears a pacifier is because he turned up to the audition and he was using it to suck on because he was trying to stop smoking. So they used it as like a character trait for him.
No way.
But he died 2 years after or 3 years after this film was made.
Really?
in a shooting.
Fuck.
So it's almost like life imitating art.
That's
in
horrid,
a way.
Yeah. I know the actor Chris was in a wheelchair, and I think he talked to John Singleton and just went, "Have you got a role for me?" Basically, so he just went, "Yeah." Like, and I love how they don't really focus on it. There's one line of dialogue like someone pick Chris up to get him in the house, but I don't think they hark on the fact that he got shot and that's why he's in a wheelchair. I think they mention part of life. I think maybe Larry does.
Was he the brother of someone? Because they do mention that one of the brothers got shot, or
it's just, but the dialogue with that, they don't hearken. It's just this is life here. This is how people talk. This happens and stuff. And
well, it's like when Cuba Gooding Jr. after he's been to the party, he's just walking home and he saves. Is that after he saves the kid and takes it to the meth lady?
Oh, from the street, yeah.
And like a shotgun's just pulled out on him, just because they're having a laugh, and it's like,
this film.
The same? But that's not the same people though. With the red car, was it them? I can't remember.
Yeah, are the people who end up killing Ricky, which is the only thing I knew about this film going in, that Ricky gets shot in it.
To be honest, you can call it from the moment the film starts. The moment you find out he's got a kid and he's about to go to uni on a scholarship, you know he's a goner.
That scene with the employer, the recruiter from the college.
Yeah.
And it's weird because the guys on outside are kind of weirdly aggressive to him, but I think they're trying to just be friendly. But I think like it's a weird kind of hostile environment for this guy.
Well, he comes from a different side. He's black as well, but he's totally from a different place and time than they are. So they don't relate. And
when Ricky says that's my kid, the guy judges him so fucking much. But I couldn't tell if it was like judging him or just really sad, like, oh shit, this guy's getting nowhere kind of thing. Was it just a kind of like, oh fuck, like,
I kind of got an in between the two, kind of. Yeah, because he assumes it's his brother straight away, doesn't he?
Yeah, younger brother or something. Yeah, and he kind of, I just feel like,
again, he does not look 17 though.
That's a Morris Chestnut, isn't it? This film launches just so many careers. Cuba Gooding, it's basically his first film. I think he had some roles beforehand, but it's basically his first film. it's definitely the first film Ice Cube did, and I think since this, you can't just call him like a rapper. He's definitely an actor. And
John
both,
Singleton wanted him for this film.
Yeah, and he's so good at it. Angela Basset, it was her first big film role. She had been like in bit roles before.
Well, apparently Laurence Fishburne wanted her. He said that's who you should get, and that's how she got cast.
And she is just great in this film. Complicated character as well. Like,
I'm sure I heard Ice Cube say "fuck the police" at one point.
Did he? Oh,
I'm sure he did.
I was going to say, I think Ice Cube. You know, not a single person from this cast got acting nominations in the Oscars. Not a single acting nom. And I really think Ice Cube should have got one.
Cuba Gooding Jr. is good in this film. He's a weird one, Cuba Gooding Jr., because he's in the early to mid 90s. He was really good, and then he just became like this jobbing actor that just did straight to DVD or video films, and I don't understand what happened to him.
I don't know what happened to him either. I don't know what the drop was.
Like he played O.J. Simpson in that TV show, and he was actually pretty good, to be fair.
He was good.
But and I mean his big break though was Jerry Maguire, wasn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. It's weird. I think he kind of took a bit of a turn. He tried to not do quote unquote black films, didn't he? He tried to just kind of broaden himself a bit, and it did work for a while. He's really good in As Good as It Gets. He's really good in.
Oh, I forgot about that. But he's in
Rat Race is the one I always remember.
No, the Michael Bay film, Pearl Harbor.
Oh, he is in Pearl Harbor, isn't he?
Yeah.
God. I was going to say, like, because I really think Ice Cube should have got nominated for this in Best Supporting Actor. And this was I'm taking the little thing out of the notice board, City Slickers. This is my least favourite, well, my least favourite, but Best Supporting Actor win is
Jack Palance, was it?
Fucking, I hate it. Not that Jack Palance is not fucking awesome, but he has so little fucking to do in City Slickers. And
yeah,
absolutely there's room on this Best Supporting Actors section to put Ice Cube on. You got Harvey Keitel and Ben Kingsley from Bugsy, and I think one of them could have been dropped off for Ice Cube. But I think someone said that, again on that podcast I listened to, please listen to this podcast, he said that he reckons when you have films like this, which are kind of like black films and black actors doing it, I think the Academy don't think they're acting. I think like they just see 4 black, young black guys and think, well, that's just what they're like. Whereas these are 4 like fucking thespians. They're 4 actors. They're not like they're playing a role here. They're not like just being themselves. Like,
well, if they're not actors, they're at least performers. They perform in front of people. There was one bit early in the film where the ice cream truck drives past, and I had massive flashbacks to an Eddie Murphy stand-up. Because have you ever seen Delirious?
Years ago, but I don't rewatch them.
Well, no, I watched Coming to America recently, which I think is quite a funny film. And then you know how Netflix will automatically play something straight after?
Oh, okay. Yeah.
It played Delirious straight after. And I forgot how homophobic and racist.
Oh, it's the worst.
But the only clean bit in it is the bit where he's talking about what it's like to be a kid and the ice cream truck goes past and he's like screaming, "Ice cream!" And it just, that bit, I don't know if it was thrown in for that bit or something, but it just reminded me of Eddie Murphy's Delirious and how different the films that he makes. All right, anyway, back to the film. The one thing that I noticed was, so the settee in the household is covered in plastic.
Oh, this is my favourite bit of the film. Yeah.
I don't know if that was any sort of foreshadowing or something, because they bring the dead body back.
I thought you were going to say, by the way, there's a bit where I can't remember who it is. I can't remember which character it is, but they sit on the part of the sofa that doesn't have the plastic on it, and Ice Cube yells at them saying, "Get off the good part." It tells him to sit on the plastic bit, which I just loved. I think it's just a thing that some people keep the plastic on. Like, I think that's probably just
It was definitely a 90s thing, though, wasn't it?
Yeah, to keep it nice, like, I think that's all it was. I used to have friends that used to keep plastics on and stuff like that. My friend Ray, was it Ray? And his family used to just have plastic and sheets over everything in the house to keep it like nice, and he had to kind of take a sheet off, like the TV, to watch the TV and stuff. So,
but speaking of that ending, though, why do you think they pick the body up? Like, shouldn't you, if someone's been shot, shouldn't you leave the body
That's what I love so much is that there's no, you've already seen that it takes 3 hours for the cops to get there.
Yeah,
no one's
true.
fucking coming. Like no, they're on their own. You know, like this. That's it. When something happens, they have to deal with it, and that's how they end up dealing with it. You know,
Like how covered in blood they are. It's quite harrowing.
It's harrowing as fuck.
And like when you hear the mom screaming and his like girlfriend, it's
and blaming Doughboy, who already throughout the whole film you see that the mom has a preference to Ricky because Ricky can make something of himself, you know. And
but also, isn't he from a different dad? Haven't they got different dads?
I think he's from different dads, but yeah, I think you just definitely see that mom has a favourite, and she's just blaming him and yelling at him. Is it Nia Long who plays the mom? Or...
No, she plays she's Trey's girlfriend.
Trey's girlfriend, yeah. And I felt so bad for Doughboy. I love that kind of element, Doughboy, that he's quick to rise and he's quick to anger, but he is very honourable. He's going to protect his friends. He's going to look after everyone and stuff like that. And it's not actually him that immediately starts the kind of fight with that other group. It's Ricky who immediately kind of, as aggresses, kind of shouts at them. But Doughboy kind of shows his weapon and like, you know, I'm here kind of thing. And then when the mom's...
Well, that apparently in that scene, you know, when he pulls out you hear the gunfire, like the AK-47.
Wasn't it an Uzi, but...
whatever. But apparently John Singleton didn't tell the cast about that weapon, though he just said, look, in this scene, you've got to jump in the car and drive off. And they just fired the Uzi. So the panic you see on their face apparently is real. Apparently he questioned Laurence Fishburne a lot as well about Francis Ford Coppola's process.
Oh.
So he's still trying to learn to be a filmmaker while making this film.
Awesome.
And so like he was asking like what was his process, and apparently Coppola's process is he reads the script through with the actors, but then what he does is then he improvs scenes that are not in the film but are just about the characters to kind of get them more into the character and kind of feel more at one with their character. And also another interesting fact about the film is it was shot completely in order.
Yes.
So from the first scene till the very end scene. And I can imagine if you're a young actor and this is your first film.
Really helps.
It really helps because you feel like you are that character and you're living that life for that period. I know they did that for E.T.
Oh, did they do it for E.T.?
So that the kids felt, which ironically enough, the editor of this film edited E.T.
Huh. That's a good connection. I know they shot it on location, in the hood, and it led to huge issues. Like,
well, yeah, they had to block off streets with all the trucks, didn't they?
Yeah, and there was the people trying to I think some of the actors lived close to where they were shooting, but they weren't allowed to walk home at night because it was so dangerous for them to walk home and stuff. And
well, gangs were trying to get the crew to pay their money to either protect them or not to attack them.
And it's crazy that he's making a film to try and humanize, I guess is the word, like people living there, but they're still running up with the same issues there. It's not like this isn't a fantasy. This is absolutely like what was going on, and he absolutely taps into that time period.
He doesn't straight out say Crips and Bloods in the film, but they're the I wouldn't say the enemies, but you know the other gang, the other
group of kids, yeah.
They run around in red.
Yeah.
They've got red bandanas on and stuff like that. And I don't know because Trey's car's blue, but obviously
car.
But he's obviously not a gang banger or whatever you want to call them.
Like, really,
but,
it goes to show in the film that to survive in this, you've got to have friends. Like when they split up, that's when there became a problem. You know, you've got
because Trey says not to, doesn't he?
Yeah, you've got to have people with you and stuff. And
you'd think you wouldn't stop to have a piss or scratch your scratch cards though.
I wouldn't stop to breathe
when you're being chased. Like it just goes to show that this has probably happened to them before.
Yeah,
several times. Do you know what I mean? It's like it's almost.
Well, that's the thing with when they see the dead body right early on, and I can't remember which person it is. It might be Doughboy. Is explaining why the stuff's yellow. Because he says that's the platelets kind of oxidizing and stuff, and
it's the plasma, isn't it?
Plasma, yeah.
It's not Doughboy. It's the other kid before he moves to his dad's. It's the kid who I think he has the argument with.
It just goes to show how used to it they are at that fucking age.
Yeah,
this is just what's happening around there. What a film. That end bit as well, when they're driving to kind of get revenge, and Trey has got that, he's kind of Laurence Fishburne's words going around in his head, basically, and he goes like, stop, I gotta get out. And Doughboy doesn't kind of get angry at him, he doesn't question him, he kind of asks him again, he say it again, and he says it again, and just lets him go. I thought that was so good, because the absolute default thing and boring thing in that situation would be to have them fight over this,
exactly,
you've got to be with me and stuff, and they didn't. Like Doughboy understands.
He actually respected his.
Yeah, and even afterwards, Doughboy says to him, like, you shouldn't have been there anyway. Like, you can make something.
But then he questions himself as well. Should I have done that?
Yeah, and like they were saying, don't worry, you still got a brother. Like, that was just so smart in that end bit, and not to just fall into kind of default kind of tropes of crime films and stuff, and to do it to heart. Talking about like the production of it as well, I loved the sound design in this film. I loved how it was constant like helicopters overhead and gunshots and just this constant feeling of like oppression and like kind of danger almost around them at all times, even when they're doing scenes which are like, loving, like the scene with like Laurence Fishburne and Cuba when he's telling him he's getting older and stuff like that, and they're just joking around and stuff, and you got all that kind of hatred just outside the door.
It's like for us watching, it's intense, but for them, they're just so used. That's
their life. Yeah,
that's their life. So like apparently, like when the film came out, and John Singleton went to the cinema to go and see it, because you wouldn't you? You'd go and see your own film at the cinema.
Yeah, I would.
He was with some mates, and apparently he saw some bloods at the cinema, like going to watch the film. And as he was coming out of the cinema, he saw some Crips, and he went to the security guard. Don't let those people in, like escort them out. But the security guard just let them in. And then John Singleton went to his friends. We've got to go now. We've got to go. So they left straight away. And then apparently as they were driving off, loads of police cars were going their way to the cinema. And there was casualties.
Fuck, man.
And but then he goes on to say, and then people were blaming the film for it.
No.
But not realising that happens every weekend.
Yeah.
But then it also made me think, though, that happened recently in Birmingham. There was a film that came out called Blue Story, which is almost like a British version of this.
Right.
And at the View Cinema at the Star City, like a massive riot broke out.
Yeah.
But again, that film is almost like the tagline for this film is what? Increase the peace. And Blue Stories again is about how a young lad, I think, tries to avoid being involved in this, and it's just again how the media kind of twist it.
They just see young minorities and just they're nothing but criminals to the media. That's it. And this film is so smart about the fact that it's just a film about family. It's just a film about breaking cycle of hatred. It's just a film about poverty. It's just a film about society. It doesn't really matter. It's just and it's just so. I found it heartbreaking, actually, the whole film. I found it more heartbreaking because I'm watching it almost 30 years later, and I'm thinking, this is just, no one has learnt anything from this ever. We've not changed, we've not improved. And this, he was right when he wrote this, and he's right now. And R.I.P. I mean, it's horrible, really.
I mean, like the first films we spoke about with Jane, Silent Bob, which I'll never watch that again. I'll watch Wild at Heart again, but I don't know when. But I could probably watch this.
I think I'll watch
right
this
now.
Again. Yeah,
it's like one of those films. I think that as soon as it ended, I could quite happily watch it again.
Put it on again. Yeah, I'll definitely be telling people to watch this. Definitely be trying to get people into it. I even noticed when I logged it on Letterboxd how little amount of logs it's got from people I know. Normally, like, I follow a lot of film critics, I follow a lot of young critics, people my age and stuff like that, and they had such a small amount of people that have watched it compared to other films as well. And I just wonder if it's one of those films that actually has been a little bit buried, especially in kind of maybe white critics and white communities. Obviously, that's probably most of the people I follow. And I wonder if it'd be nice to kind of get it out there more and try and make sure people are watching these classics. This is up there with any of Scorsese's crime films for me.
I agree. And it's a nice length as well. It's about 135 minutes long, so it's a nice...
Yeah, 140-ish. It's snappy, like, yeah.
So if you're logging on Letterboxd, what are you going to give it out of 5?
I think it'd be 4.5, easily.
Yeah, I'm going to go 4.5.
Easily.
The half is docked because nobody looks 17 or...
I could have to say, when I was watching this, the two things I kept on thinking of was, one, GTA 3 is just based upon this. Not GTA,
100%.
Is it GTAC San Andreas? Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Yeah, which I played so much of that fucking game. I just played hours of it, and I didn't even realise how much of it was just this film.
The only thing that annoyed me with that game, though, was like how you have to eat and you lose weight and stuff. I'm like, that's unnecessary.
It was so easy to lose weight that you just had to rob a bike and just cycle, and then you just got to slim down on the bike, which is exactly how it works in real life, which is my svelte figure.
So, any final thoughts on it, or are you?
I'm not sure how much more I can say. Yeah, I just think it was wonderful. I think it's a cultural milestone, really. Just like that, I probably will now start seeing references to it I never got before, as well. But
it's a shame he never really reached those heights again, John Singleton. I don't think his films after that kind of...
And I think Poetic Justice and Higher Learning, I remember being big films. I think Higher Learning especially, but I've not seen them. But I think, to be honest, I think he fell down the kind of white Hollywood.
Well, didn't he direct one of the Fast and the Furious films?
He did the second one too fast, yeah. He did Shaft.
Yeah, and Four Brothers.
Oh yeah, he did do Four Brothers, yeah. I was a big fan of that Shaft. I actually did like that a lot.
Haven't they done a sequel to that one on Netflix?
Yes, they'd have, yeah. It's got all three of them in, yeah. And I think he did Rosewood, I think he did as well, which is like a historical kind of film based on a massacre in Florida.
Well, I mean, he had a great career.
He did. For the shortish career he had, he had a fantastic career.
But I think he never reached those kind of... Obviously, he got an Oscar nomination for this, and he never reached that again, which is a shame.
It's a high bar to kind of...
Yeah, for your first film as well.
Yeah, it's at 24 years old. I mean, he's 24 doing this. I can't believe it. He's 24 and he did this film. He not only directed, he wrote it. That's just absolutely amazing to me.
It's like, I mentioned it earlier, obviously Clerks is Kevin Smith's first film, and he was the same age. But it's night and day.
Oh,
like,
God, it's
don't get me wrong, Clerks has still got a special place in my heart, but this film is... miles above it in terms of visuals, in terms of what it's going to say, its acting. I mean, it did have a slightly higher budget. I mean, Kevin Smith just made it on his own money, so he could only afford what he could afford. But script goes a long way.
Yeah, I don't think it's often that your first film out the gate is this good. I think this is special, right? And he lost to Jonathan Demme for Best Director, which honestly that. Silence of the Lambs is fantastic, so it's hard to kind of argue that. And Jonathan Demme is an absolute genius. I love the guy, so it's hard to kind of argue that. And I think he lost it because he did it was the screenplay as well. He got nominated for, and I just look up.
Okay. Yeah,
he lost to Thelma and Louise for the screenplay, which I think this is a better screenplay than Thelma and Louise.
I haven't seen Thelma and Louise. Get that on the list.
I've seen it, man.
No.
Can't do that. You have to watch some in your own time.
Okay, so what's next now? We've got a game.
Yeah, I figured we got some games. So I was going to do the Letterboxd game this week.
Yeah.
So the idea is that we did Boyz in the Hood this week. So I'm going to pick out top billed person from that, which is Cuba Gooding.
Okay.
And I'm going to see if you can guess his top 5 films by popularity according to Letterboxd.
Oh. Okay. So I'm going to go Jerry Maguire.
Jerry Maguire is number 4.
Okay.
Ask if you want me to go through them. I don't think that.
So Boyz in the Hood's going to be on there.
Boyz in the Hood is not in the top 5.
What?
This is why I quite like it by Letterboxd, because it's not always the films you kind of expect it to be.
I'm guessing Snow Dogs or Boat Trip aren't on there.
No.
Men of Honor.
That Men of Honor is nowhere near the top.
Sorry, my cat's running around my room being
Podcast cat.
looking
what's the cat
mischievous.
Called? Is that Spud?
What else is he? Do you what?
Spud. Isn't that what you call the cat?
Spud, no, Turnip. That's his name.
Okay, not Spud. It's a vegetable. Okay, number 5 is directed by Ridley Scott.
Ridley Scott.
Stars Denzel Washington. Came out in 2007.
American Gangster.
Yep. It's number 5.
Sorry, I had my finger in my mouth then. I don't know why I did that.
American Gangster. Number 4, you got number 3. You're going to get this as soon as I say the director. I didn't know he was in this. Directed by Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Okay.
2013.
Don Juan? No, it's not Don Juan.
John.
Is it Don Juan?
Yeah. It's apparently Cuba Gooding Jr.'s 3rd most popular film.
Okay.
Last 2. Number 2, 2014 film starring David Oyelowo. Directed by Ava DuVernay.
Oh, I know that. Is she the one who did the time travel one? Who's doing the New Gods film or something?
I think she's doing the New Gods film.
2014.
You mean Wrinkle in Time, don't you?
Any other clues?
It's a historical film based on a very, very famous civil rights person, Martin Luther King.
I don't know. What's that film?
Selma.
Okay.
Really good film, actually, and absolutely slept on that year. And number one most popular Cuba Gooding Jr. film, 2001, directed by Ben Stiller.
Zoolander.
Yeah.
What? When's he in that?
I don't know.
I would have never have guessed that.
I have no idea who he's in it. I don't remember him in it, but...
Okay. So what's up next week then?
Right, so next week we're doing No, we're not. We're doing 1992.
Yep.
And I figured we'd have a look at Glengarry Glen Ross. Which is a film that... It's one of those films that seems to get quoted a lot by kind of bro-ish quote people. Is that fair?
Yeah. So this is the all-male cast one. Is that correct?
Is it? It's a David Mamet play directed by James Foley. Is it all-male cast? Is that right?
I don't know. I thought that was one of the things about it.
Okay. I know it's...
I could be totally wrong.
I guess we'll see. I know it's got our good friend Al Pacino in it. And is it Alec?
I was going to go and do an impression of Al Pacino, but I thought I'd save everybody of that.
No, I demand you go for it now.
I'm trying to
Do
think.
the line
I couldn't
from
then
Heat.
think of any of his quotes then. It's just people go, "Ooh-wah!"
What's the line from Heat? With great ass!
Oh, the great ass!
I can't do any impression.
That is a great film, though. I love Heat.
We could watch Heat instead. No.
For 1992.
You are right. I'm looking at the cast, and it's a long way until I see a female name on this list. It's a lot of bald white men.
Oh, there's one thing I wanted to
Kevin
say
Spacey.
about Boyz in the Hood. Apparently, it was an all-black crew apart from the producer.
Oh, okay.
And John Singleton said, "Have you got a problem being the only white crew member on the film?" And he's like, "No." And he goes, "Good, because you're going to be the only white member on the film crew."
See, that's the thing. Like
that's the balls he had. I thought was amazing.
Yeah, but he's doing what Larry Fishburne's character doing in the film. He's not only preaching; he's acting what he's preaching. So he's giving jobs to the black
100%.
community. He's not just like doing it. He's doing it properly. He was doing it correct. You know, like he's. I like that film. I like John Singleton. I think I could talk about this film forever.
But we can't.
But we can't.
So anyway, we'll see you next week, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, don't forget to add us on Twitter. We are at Adjust Your Track with a YR. And don't forget to rate, review and subscribe. And we'll see you next time. And please, as always, if the picture's bad, don't forget to adjust your tracking.